Because I was too handsome, I became the target of extreme jealousy. He actually had his rich and beautiful fiancée set a honey trap for me, planning to dump me cruelly after I fell for her so they could all have a laugh at my expense. But he didn't know that I could read lips, so I caught every detail of their clumsy scheme. I even decided to play along and win over his rich and beautiful fiancée. Have you heard? That transfer student, Lin Yuan, confessed to Song Qianqian yesterday. He's just a poor loser who's a little handsome. Why does he act so aloof? From a distance, I watched the lip movements of those rich kids at school, reading every word they said about me. They thought I was pretending to be cold and distant. Was I really? If I don't like girls who confess to me and reject them directly, is that really wrong? Among the group, Gu Beichen seemed to dislike me the most. His eyes shifted as he looked at the pretty girl beside him and casually said, "Chloe, go confess to Lin Yuan." The girl he called was Chloe Vance, also from a wealthy family. She and Gu Beichen had grown up together as childhood sweethearts, and their families had even verbally arranged their engagement. Yet he wanted his own fiancée to confess to another guy. Chloe immediately frowned, disbelief in her voice. "You want me to confess to Lin Yuan?" "That's right," Gu Beichen nodded, a calculating smile curling his lips. "It's only a fake confession. Chloe, you're the school goddess, every guy's dream rich beauty. If you confess to him, you'll definitely win him over." "And after that?" Chloe asked coldly. She reminded him pointedly, "Don't forget what our relationship is." "Chloe," Gu Beichen quickly soothed her, "I told you it's fake. We're just messing with Lin Yuan. Don't take it so seriously." "Exactly," Shen Yue chimed in from the side, smiling and winking at Chloe Vance. "Chloe, don't you think it'll be fun?" Chloe stayed silent for a moment before finally nodding. "Fine, I'll do it." Then they gathered around and discussed the details. How to make me fall for her, how to make me completely devoted to Chloe Vance, and once I was deeply in love, how she'd suddenly leave me and make me suffer. Every step of their scheme was crystal clear to me through lip reading. At noon that very day, Chloe indeed asked me to meet her at a corner beside the school building. It was secluded and quiet, perfect for a confession. She had even brought a gift. When I arrived, she spoke directly. "Lin Yuan, I like you. Please be my boyfriend." The words were simple and straightforward. After saying them, she opened an elegantly wrapped box. Inside was a green wristwatch. "This is my gift to you. I hope you like it." Already knowing their entire plan, I looked into her eyes and seriously asked, "Chloe, are you sincere?" Her cheeks instantly turned red. She never really wanted to toy with anyone, but somehow, after Shen Yue encouraged her, she had agreed almost impulsively. After a pause, she forced herself to answer, "Oh, of course I'm sincere." "Then do you dare let me kiss you?" I stepped closer and tilted my head as I asked, Kiss me?" Her expression tightened and she hesitated. "Isn't this moving a little too fast?" Before she could finish speaking, I leaned in and kissed her. Her lips were soft, carrying a faint sweetness that surprised me. Chloe's eyes widened. She was clearly stunned by the sudden move. He kissed me. Things had already gone completely off script. Chloe unconsciously pressed her lips together. Her first kiss, treasured for 18 years, was gone just like that. While she was still in a daze, I leaned in and kissed her again. This time it lasted longer, and that sweet feeling became even clearer. Gu Beichen thought he understood everything perfectly, but he didn't know that I had secretly liked Chloe Vance all along. This honey trap was something I genuinely couldn't resist, so I decided to play along. The real question was whether Chloe could resist. After learning about their plan, I specifically looked into her background. In Linghai City, the Vance family behind Chloe was the true powerhouse among the elite families. Every other family, including Gu Beichen's Gu family, was less influential than the Vance family. Gu Beichen sure was bold. He actually sent the Vance family's young heiress to me. Then I might as well take full advantage of the opportunity. After letting go of Chloe Vance, I wiped the saliva from the corner of my mouth, accepted her gift, and said with a crooked smile, "Chloe, from now on, I'm your boyfriend." "We've already kissed. How could I reject your confession?" "Wouldn't that make me the bad guy?" Chloe finally regained her composure and frowned at me. Her expression was a mix of annoyance and something more complicated. Her beautiful eyes darted around, and after holding it in for a while, she finally spoke. "You were too sudden. I wasn't prepared at all. And you can't tell anyone about us kissing." I knew she was afraid Gu Bachin and the others would find out. Their plan had never included me taking advantage of Chloe Vance. What happened just now was a slap in Gu Bachin's face, and she had brought it upon herself. I merely helped make it a reality. Why? I pretended not to understand and asked. Don't ask why. Chloe's tone became firm. Just don't tell anyone. Fine, I replied casually. Then I leaned closer, grinning mischievously. Then let me kiss you again. No. Chloe immediately shook her head. You've already kissed me. Once you've kissed me, you can't just keep doing it. Ignoring her refusal, I gently held her face and kissed her again. At first, she struggled and resisted, but people are emotional by nature, and she was no exception. As the kiss continued, her body gradually softened. Her hands stopped pushing me away, and instead lightly wrapped around my waist as she slowly lost herself in the moment. There was one thing Gu Bachin had gotten wrong from the start. I wasn't some poor, aloof guy pretending to be cool. First of all, both my parents worked at state-owned enterprises. Our family wasn't as rich as the wealthy heirs, but we were still better off than most ordinary families. Secondly, I wasn't cold at all. My looks were considered school heartthrob level. Before transferring to this school, I'd already been talked into dating by several pretty girls at my previous school. My first 2 girlfriends had both been school beauties. After seeing so many attractive girls, I naturally wasn't interested in girls whose looks were average. In this school, there was really only one girl who caught my eye. Chloe Vance was a complete 10. Her friend Shen Yue was only half a point behind. I rejected girls I didn't like because I wanted to focus on studying and get into a good university. That's why I rarely interacted with other students. How did that become acting aloof? Besides, I had plenty of dating experience. One kiss was enough for me to know that Chloe's kiss had been her first. They were clearly waiting for Chloe's good news. Chloe, did it work? Shen Yue simply shouted over to us. Chloe glanced at them, pressed her lips together, and walked over, tugging my sleeve. Stepping right up to Gu Bachin and the others, she directly announced, Lin Yuan and I are together now. Gu Bachin smirked at me, his eyes full of mockery. Congratulations, Lin Yuan. Everyone else looked at me the same way, except for Shen Yue, who opened her round eyes wide and chimed in with pure excitement. Lin Yuan, from now on, you better treat our Chloe well. Just bear with it, her text read. 2 or 3 months at most, and he will definitely love you to his core. I caught this message out of the corner of my eye and sneered inwardly, while completely pretending not to notice on the outside. After reading the text, Chloe turned to look at me, so I turned my head and gave her a wide grin. At the same time, I started making small moves under the radar. My large hand reached out to grasp her small hand. She tried to pull away, but I held on tightly, preventing her from withdrawing it. First getting kissed, and now having her hand held. Chloe looked at me nervously, her palm breaking into a light sweat. I lightly tickled her palm, then gently massaged her fingers, causing her face to blush deeply. Haha. She was a complete relationship amateur. How could she possibly withstand the seasoned charms of an experienced dater like me? I even leaned down and underneath the school desk gently kissed her small hand. I kept all of this hidden. Apart from the 2 of us, no one else had any idea what was happening. When classes ended that afternoon, Gu Bachin sent Chloe another message, telling her not to rush home but to go on a date with me instead. I withdrew my gaze, continuing to play dumb. Chloe put her phone away, paused for a moment, and then asked, Lin Yuan, after class, do you have any plans? Not at all, I replied naturally, and immediately added, let's go hang out at the mall together. Okay, she agreed and nodded along. Though we called it shopping, it was really just the 2 of us hitting the nearby pedestrian street for a bite to eat before heading over to the North River bank. We sat together on a bench, feeling the cool breeze, and quite naturally, started acting like an affectionate couple. Chloe, I leaned in close to her, pouting my lips slightly. Give me a kiss. Is kissing the only thing inside your head? I wanted to kiss her, but she intentionally tried to maintain her cold, aloof facade, so I kissed her completely out of nowhere. This time, she stopped pretending. Instead, she wrapped her arms around my head, passionately locking lips with me. My exes had taught me that when a girl says no during a date, she often actually means yes. Furthermore, since a girl has already agreed to go on a date, she is already mentally prepared for physical intimacy. Even though my date with Chloe was under unique circumstances, she had already let me kiss her earlier and repeatedly engaged in those subtle flirtations with me. I was confident that the dating logic passed down by my exes applied to Chloe just the same. Judging by her response, my guess was entirely correct. After a while, we finally broke apart, but she still seemed to want more. She leaned back in and pecked my lips twice more, her clear eyes staring right at me with a gaze full of tenderness and infatuation. I knew perfectly well that her hidden craving for kissing was actually stronger than mine. I was absolutely certain that Chloe Vance had developed genuine feelings for me through these kisses. I couldn't help but laugh to myself. Oh, Gu Baichin. Pushing your own fiancé out to play the honey trap? You're really just delivering gifts right to my door. That night before bed, the text messages between Chloe and me never stopped. Chloe, I miss you so much. Received. Just deal with it. Send me a picture of you. What do you want it for? I want to fall asleep looking at your picture. I kept pestering Chloe for a photo, and after a little while, she actually sent a selfie of herself in a silk nightgown. Her exquisite curves were tantalizingly visible, which resulted in me barely getting a wink of sleep the entire night. Dating was one thing, but when it came to academics, neither of us let our grades slip. As luck would have it, we weren't just physically compatible, we shared the exact same intense dedication to our studies. She ranked in the top 5 of our grade, while I sat around 10th place. Both of us loved grinding through practice problems, and we would often argue until we were red in the face over having different methods to solve a single question. In the end, I would always reach under the table to hold her hand or gently scratch her palm as my way of apologizing to settle it. I began to slowly adapt to my role as Chloe's boyfriend, and even joined her circle of wealthy elite friends. To make me fall madly in love with Chloe as quickly as possible, Gu Baichin and his crew played along seamlessly, constantly praising how well matched we were. From my perspective, Gu Baichin was purely seeking his own doom. No matter how much Chloe might have liked him initially, those feelings would grow cold each time he pushed her into another guy's arms. Furthermore, Chloe now had me by her side. I paid absolutely no attention to what Gu Baichin and the others said. Whenever they weren't paying attention, my hand would rest gently on Chloe's waist, teasingly making trouble. These wealthy heirs all knew that Chloe and Gu Baichin had a verbal engagement, and they assumed I was in the dark. But in reality, I had long since read their lips and figured out every single detail. Right in front of Chloe's fiancé, engaging in these secret flirtations with her behind his back felt inexplicably thrilling. Chloe would occasionally roll her eyes at me, but she never made a move to stop me. To put it bluntly, she was giving me her tacit permission, and deep down, she probably quite enjoyed it. Gu Baichin thought Chloe was just going through the motions, fake dating me for the prank. But in reality, Chloe was already completely immersed, dating me in earnest. In the blink of an eye, the weekend arrived, and Chloe and I agreed to go to the amusement park. Gu Baichin, Shen Yue, and the others tagged along too. This crew was still trying to play matchmaker, wanting us to deepen our bond. Once we entered the haunted house, they intentionally screamed and ran off, leaving Chloe and me completely on our own. Chloe had once mentioned in one of her videos that she was afraid of the dark and even needed a nightlight to sleep. Yet Gu Baichin, who had been by her side for years, seemingly had no idea about this, and had even led the charge running ahead. Chloe stared in the direction he had gone, lost in thought for a long time. I knew her childhood affection for him was cracking, and I was going to replace Gu Baichin entirely, filling her heart myself. There actually happened to be a love stone inside the haunted house. With no one else around, I held Chloe's hand and walked openly up to it. Chloe, I heard that if couples kiss in front of this stone, they'll never be separated for the rest of their lives. I was purely bluffing, and she knew it too. Oh, please, she scoffed. Just say what you really want. I immediately rolled up my sleeves. All right, since you've already guessed my intentions, I won't hold back. I pulled her close and began kissing her deeply. By the time I led Chloe out of the haunted house, her lips were noticeably swollen. She glared at me with mock resentment, complaining, "If you want to kiss, just kiss. It's not like I'm stopping you." Did you really have to use that much force? It's because I like you so much. I scratched my head, making a playful excuse. Chloe could only sigh helplessly. Gu Baichin and Shen Yue were waiting for us nearby. With just one look, Shen Yue noticed something unusual about her lips. Chloe, what happened to your mouth? It looks a bit swollen. Chloe wasn't good at lying on the spot, but I smoothly fabricated a cover story. Chloe was walking too fast just now, and accidentally bumped right into a door. It's all your fault, Shen Yue immediately began blaming me for not protecting our Chloe properly. She didn't think twice about it and instantly accepted my explanation. Gu Baichen, however, glared intensely at the space between Chloe and me, saying with clear irritation, "You two are moving pretty fast." Already holding hands, only then did we realize that even now, our hands were still intertwined. Chloe reflexively let go and pulled her hand back to her side. Shen Yue stepped in at this moment and questioned Gu Baichen, "Isn't it a good thing that they're making fast progress?" Gu Baichen's face had initially been flushed with anger, but Shen Yue's words reminded him that Chloe was simply executing his honey trap script. He rationalized that she wasn't doing it on purpose, so it was forgivable. Even so, he secretly sent Chloe a text. "I don't like you having physical contact with Lin Yuan. I can overlook it this time, but don't let it happen again." Upon receiving the text, Chloe thought for a moment and sent back a simple, indifferent, "Okay." Seeing her reply, Gu Baichen cast a haughty glance in my direction, then called out to Shen Yue and the others, quickly disappearing into the crowd. They had intentionally abandoned us again. When Chloe looked up, she found no trace of Gu Baichen and his crew anywhere. "Lin Yuan, I don't want to hang out here anymore." Chloe seemed to have lost all interest and suddenly suggested leaving. When I asked her why, she answered in a quiet voice, "To be honest, I've never really liked coming to amusement parks." I got the feeling she had a painful history. Sure enough, before I could even press further, she opened up on her own. Because, on the very last day before my mom passed away from her severe illness, she brought me here in her wheelchair. So every time someone mentions amusement parks, it just makes me remember how much pain my mother was in before she died. Hearing this, I asked her seriously, "Then why did you still ask me to come to the amusement park? Aren't you just setting yourself up to be miserable?" "They were the ones who insisted I ask you out here," Chloe replied with a trace of hesitation. "Come on, let's go somewhere else." Without saying another word, I took her hand and quickly led her away from the park. Through our time spent together, I realized that even though Gu Baichen was Chloe's childhood sweetheart, he didn't actually care about her at all. He didn't know she was afraid of the dark, nor did he realize that she absolutely hated coming to amusement parks. I really couldn't fathom why a great girl like Chloe was willing to mix with someone like him. After leaving the park, I brought her straight back to my place. That's right, I brought her to my own house. My parents travel for work year-round, so I live completely on my own. I opened the front door and welcomed the young heiress inside. Chloe was used to living in giant mansions, but entering my home, she didn't show a hint of disdain. "What a coincidence," she murmured as she looked around the space. "To be honest, I usually live all by myself too. My mom passed away early, and my dad has more than one household outside, so he rarely ever comes home." Only then did I learn that Chloe actually lived a rather tragic life. A mother who died too soon, and a father with multiple mistresses outside, leaving her entirely alone to navigate a massive, empty mansion all by herself. I finally figured it out. No wonder she had been willing to associate with someone like Gu Baichen before. Chloe was simply starved for a sense of family. In reality, she probably just viewed Gu Baichen as a younger brother, hoping to draw a tiny, insignificant bit of warmth from his presence to comfort her lonely soul. Since Chloe had visited my house, she also invited me over to her place, and it was every bit the imposing, grand villa. The interior decoration was lavish to the extreme, and there were plenty of maids and security guards on duty. The moment I stepped inside, the dazzling decor nearly blinded me. I stood there staring with wide eyes, taking quite a while to snap out of it. I honestly felt like a total country bumpkin who had never seen the world. But Chloe didn't make fun of me at all. She even took the initiative to give me a tour of her bedroom. Yet just as we left her room and walked downstairs, Gu Baichen and Shen Yue walked into the villa one after the other. Upon seeing me, Gu Baichen's brows knit tightly together, his face completely flushed with annoyance. "Lin Yuan, what are you doing here?" I had already stepped deep into Chloe's personal domain. For him to only realize now that his territory was being encroached upon, wasn't it a bit too late? If Gu Baichen could perceive right now that Chloe was slipping further away, instantly start chasing after his wife, and if Chloe were actually willing to turn back to him, then I would definitely bow out silently and give them my blessings. After all, Gu Baichen still technically stood a chance at this point. "Chloe brought me here," I shot back with a thoroughly casual remark. Hearing this, Gu Baichen's eyes shifted, and the anger on his face instantly vanished, his rigid expression smoothed over as well. "Ah, I almost forgot. You and Chloe are dating now. It's perfectly normal for her to bring you home." Watching Gu Baichen's sudden 180-degree shift, I gave him a silent thumbs up in my mind. This guy is incredibly generous. But then a second thought crossed my mind. If he knew that Chloe and I were kissing and hugging every single day, I wonder if he could still maintain this composure. Right then, Chloe appeared at the top of the second-floor stairs. Hearing Gu Beichen's words, her face remained completely expressionless. She simply asked the two downstairs coolly, "What brought you guys over?" "We didn't have anything to do, so we came to find you guys." Shen Yue made herself right at home on the sofa, then turned around to question Chloe and me. "What were you two doing upstairs just now? You weren't making a baby, were you?" The moment those words came out, Gu Beichen's face froze up again, but he quickly curled his lip and dismissed it. How could that be? Chloe is a very traditional girl. Yue, stop talking nonsense. I stole a quiet glance at Chloe, laughing silently to myself. Traditional, right? Just moments ago, we were tangled up on her bed in a heated embrace. We were only a hair's breadth away from crossing the final line. If we hadn't been genuinely worried about actually making a baby, we wouldn't have stopped. What era are you living in? Shen Yue spoke up again, wiggling her eyebrows at Chloe as she egged her on. Chloe, if you ask me, you shouldn't be too conservative. When it's time to do something, just let loose and go for it. Youth is so precious. When it's time to enjoy yourself, you should enjoy it to the fullest. She was explicitly urging Chloe and me to take things to the next level. It suddenly hit me that Shen Yue didn't seem to be targeting me maliciously at all. Instead, she genuinely seemed to be playing matchmaker for us. It was plain as day. The moment she finished speaking, Gu Beichen's eye twitched violently, and he glared daggers at her. His look screamed, "Whose side are you actually on?" Yet Shen Yue completely ignored his murderous gaze, or rather, she didn't take his reaction seriously at all. However, Shen Yue's intentional or accidental betrayals weren't even the most frustrating thing for Gu Beichen. They stayed at Chloe's villa until it was quite late, and only when they were getting ready to leave did they realize that I had no intention of going. Wait, what? Lin Yuan is staying over tonight? Upon learning that I was spending the night at Chloe's villa, Gu Beichen's face darkened completely. Shen Yue, on the other hand, got excited, teasing Chloe and me with a chuckle. Tsk, tsk, I can't take this. You two are just brutally torturing us single dogs. Gu Beichen panicked, trying to stop me with an angry look. You two can't stay together. Why not? I shrugged and questioned him back. It's not like we're sleeping in the same room. Besides, Chloe and I are a couple. Even if we did sleep together. So what? Not sleeping in the same room. Gu Beichen completely ignored my latter words, clinging onto the not sleeping in the same room part. Muttering, he looked over at Chloe again. I knew it. Chloe isn't that kind of easy girl. Hearing this made me instantly annoyed, so I repeated what I just said. What are you talking about? Chloe and I are boyfriend and girlfriend. It's none of your business if we sleep together. Gu Beichen wanted to argue back, but Shen Yue suddenly cut in, dragging him toward the exit. She kept brainwashing him as they walked out. They're boyfriend and girlfriend, so sleeping together has absolutely nothing to do with you. Let's go, let's go. Gu Beichen was dragged out of the villa's main doors by Shen Yue. The second they stepped outside, he demanded angrily, Yue, are you actually on my side or what? Why does it feel like you're helping Lin Yuan at every turn? Am I? Shen Yue replied half-heartedly, then turned around and waved her hand. Whatever, I'm tired. I'm heading home. With that, she walked toward another villa nearby. Gu Beichen lived right next door to Chloe. He looked back at Chloe's villa with deep resentment before heading into his own house, fuming. Before stepping through his door, he comforted himself. The one Chloe loves is me. It's impossible for her to fall for Lin Yuan. Bringing Lin Yuan back to the villa must just be to finish the task I assigned her as quickly as possible. Yes, it must be that. This guy was truly a master of self-delusion. In the blink of an eye, the next day arrived, and I actually walked out from Chloe's bedroom. In truth, we really had intended to sleep in separate rooms initially, but last night Chloe was helping me with my schoolwork. Because we stayed up too late, we were both completely exhausted, so we just ended up falling asleep in each other's arms for the night. After holding her like that all night, the intimacy between us grew by leaps and bounds. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, half a month passed. With only 2 months left until the college entrance exam, Chloe and I were practically inseparable every single day. Gu Beichen felt that the timing was ripe. On this day, he approached Chloe, wanting her to put an end to the honey trap. Chloe, that's enough. Go ahead and break up with Lin Yuan. He said it with absolute confidence. But Chloe didn't listen to him, only saying she'd deal with it in a couple of days. Although Gu Baichin was annoyed, he still waited a few days, but as the days passed, there was still no news of Chloe breaking up with me. So Gu Baichin pulled Chloe aside for a private talk once again. "Chloe, what's wrong with you? Didn't we agree you'd break up with him in a couple of days? Why haven't you brought it up yet?" "The exam is coming," Chloe calmly replied, with just those words. Hearing this, Gu Baichin immediately began interpreting it in his own way. "Oh, I get it. Chloe, you want to dump him just a few days before the exam? That way, Lin Yuan will be devastated and completely mess up his exam, failing to get into even a mediocre university." In the face of his words, Chloe didn't offer any response, her deep eyes shifting as she lost herself in thought. "Chloe, you really thought this through." Gu Baichin continued to fantasize to himself. From a short distance away, I read their lips and understood their entire conversation. To be honest, Chloe isn't as boldly outspoken as Shen Yue. She keeps her cards close to her chest. Even though we had grown close enough to share a bed, I still couldn't fully figure out whether she was being genuine or fake with me, but I chose to believe that she wasn't rotten to the core like Gu Baichin. As the exam drew closer and closer, Chloe still hadn't mentioned breaking up with me. Gu Baichin grew completely anxious. For the umpteenth time, he asked Chloe out to a secluded spot to talk. "Chloe, the exam is right around the corner! Hurry up and dump Lin Yuan!" Chloe narrowed her eyes, didn't say a single word this time, and just turned on her heel to leave. "Chloe, what's wrong with you? Why are you ignoring me?" Gu Baichin panicked more and more. Lately, he had noticed that Chloe was not only getting closer to me, but she was also getting physically affectionate with me, completely abandoning all boundaries. Meanwhile, she was becoming increasingly cold toward him, sometimes not even replying to his texts. Could it be? He finally thought of that terrifying possibility and blurted it out at Chloe's retreating back. This time, Chloe stopped in her tracks. Without turning around, she simply uttered 3 words. "I don't know." What did "I don't know" mean? Was it because she couldn't even figure out her own stance, making her unable to give a firm answer? Gu Baichin's heart skipped a beat, sensing that things had gone terribly wrong. He realized that Chloe had likely fallen deep into this fake romance game and couldn't pull herself out. "Chloe, wake up! Your relationship is fake!" He roared this at Chloe's back, but she ignored him completely, continuing on her way to the classroom. Left standing there, Gu Baichin's face was twisted in rage. He clenched his fists so tightly that the blue veins on his arms bulged violently, nearly bursting through his skin. "Lin Yuan, I certainly underestimated you. Just you wait. I will never let the two of you be together." On the night before the college entrance exam, I received a harassing text message from Gu Baichin. "Lin Yuan, I am Chloe's real boyfriend. Her dating you was just a prank I orchestrated to mess with you. I had her purposely get close to you just so she could dump you later. If you don't believe me, you can ask Chloe yourself. She doesn't like you at all. Getting close to you was purely to toy with you." In my eyes, he was clearly acting out of pure desperation, smashing a pot just because it was cracked, and finally throwing down his cards. A smirk crept onto my face, and I casually tossed my phone face down, having absolutely no intention of replying to him. Before long, the guy sent another message. Every line was dripping with his usual smugness, convinced his words had struck a raw nerve, and that I was currently crying my eyes out in secret. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. With an IQ like that, it was no wonder he had personally pushed Chloe right into my arms. Locking my phone once again, I continued to ignore him. But a moment later, a video call from Chloe came through. The moment I picked up, her face on the screen was a picture of anxiety, her tone laced with panic. "Yuan, what did Gu Baichin just say to you?" I could guess without even asking. Seeing that I was ignoring him, Gu Baichin must have immediately run off to throw a tantrum at Chloe. He said, "That you and I are just a fake couple," I replied with a shrug, my tone perfectly calm. "And what do you think?" Chloe stared into the lens, her expression exceptionally earnest. I curled my lip, answering with a smile. Who would push their own fiancé to another guy? Unless their brain is completely missing a gear. My words made no attempt to hide my mockery of Gu Baichin. Exactly. He really is missing a gear. Chloe immediately nodded in agreement, her tone overflowing with validation. I was thoroughly satisfied with her attitude. It made all the time I spent keeping her company lately well worth it. The fact that Chloe was willing to insult Gu Baichin like this proved her heart had entirely realigned with me. As long as she stood by my side, all of Gu Baichin's malicious calculations would completely fall apart. He would even end up losing his fiancée to me in the process. Doesn't this perfectly illustrate the old proverb, Jo Yu's brilliant plan to conquer the world only ended up costing him his lady and his troops? Gu Baichin thought he was a mastermind, but I couldn't wait to see if he would end up coughing up blood from sheer rage just like Jo Yu. No matter what he says, just don't listen to him, and don't take it to heart. Just focus on preparing for tomorrow's exam, Chloe urged repeatedly through the video call. With that, she flashed a sweet smile at me. Once the college entrance exam is over, let's go on a trip abroad. When the time comes, I promise to give you a massive surprise. All right, I nodded, reassuring her in return. Chloe, the same goes for you. Don't let him get to you. Seeing that I wasn't discouraged at all but was instead comforting her, Chloe's tightly knitted brows finally smoothed out significantly. Time flew swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, the next day arrived. To all the students who had endured years of grueling studies, this day was the most important milestone of their lives. After years of hard work, this crossroads of the college entrance exam would finally determine the direction of their future. My parents, who were originally abroad overseeing a project's construction, took special leave to return to the country just to accompany me. When they drove me to the testing center, Chloe was already there waiting. I figured she was still worried about what happened last night. The moment she spotted me, she quickly hurried over, carefully scanning my condition. Don't worry, I'm perfectly fine. I took the initiative to hold her hand, drawing her along to walk side by side into the test center. Behind us, Gu Baichin and his mother shot venomous glares at our backs, while my parents and Chloe's father wore expressions of absolute bewilderment. To them, our sudden coupling was completely unexpected. In fact, our teacher had long since noticed that Chloe and I were dating, but seeing that it didn't impact our studies, she didn't intervene or notify our parents. Thus, both sets of parents had no inkling of our relationship until this exact moment. While our parents took it relatively well, Gu Baichin's mother's face twisted into an absolute knot. The woman grabbed Gu Baichin and demanded, "Baichin, what on earth is going on between you and Chloe? Why is she holding hands with another boy?" Faced with his mother's questioning, Gu Baichin was both mortified and enraged. He opened his mouth, but couldn't squeeze out a single coherent sentence for the longest time. The college entrance exam was over in a flash, and both Chloe and I had performed quite consistently. After estimating our scores, we were absolutely certain that getting into Ocean University together wouldn't be a problem at all. We even started planning our vacation abroad. However, before we could set off, there was still one matter that needed to be ironed out, or rather, a certain someone who needed to be completely dealt with first. On this day, Chloe called and asked me to come over to her house. When I arrived, I happened to run straight into her and Gu Baichin arguing outside the gate. "Chloe, I am your real boyfriend." "No, wait, I'm your fiancé. We've had an engagement for ages." Gu Baichin was so anxious that his voice completely cracked. "Boyfriend? Fiancé?" The moment Chloe heard these two terms, a look of pure disgust washed over her face. She fired back at him, "But didn't you say before that Lin Yuan and I make a perfect match? We had an agreement. The plan was for you to confess to Lin Yuan and then dump him later." Gu Baichin was filled with absolute regret. His perfectly good childhood sweetheart and fiancé had been handed over to someone else for nothing. What's more, this fiancé was not only gorgeous, but also the daughter of the wealthiest man in Linhai City. "Chloe, I know you must be teaming up with Lin Yuan just to deliberately spite me." Clinging to his very last shred of illusion, his tone carried a hint of begging. "All right, stop playing around. I admit it, you guys successfully got to me. Now come back to me, okay?" With that, Gu Baichin opened his arms, stepping forward in an attempt to embrace Chloe. But Chloe instantly took 2 steps back, coldly dodging his approach. "Gu Baichin!" She retreated further toward the Liu estate, her voice completely devoid of warmth. "Between you and me, from the very moment you pushed me toward Lin Yuan, it was completely over. Who do you think you are? I don't desperately need you in my life. Asking your own fiancé to confess to another guy. Only someone like you could come up with something so absurd." Every single word Chloe uttered was razor sharp, stabbing straight into Gu Baichin's heart like a knife. "Chloe, you—" Gu Baichin wanted to argue, but since he was indeed the one who did it, he sputtered for a long time without being able to voice a single word. "Just leave, and don't contact me ever again." Chloe's tone grew even colder as she added emphatically, word by word. "As for our engagement, it's officially void." In reality, that engagement was just a casual promise made by the elders of both families, meant more as a joke, and carried no real weight. But Chloe still chose this exact moment to make a formal declaration to annul it. "Chloe, you can't treat me like this." Gu Bacon refused to give up, his eyes filled with stubbornness. We grew up together. Have you forgotten all the wonderful times we shared in the past? With that, he closed the distance by another 2 steps, opening his arms once more to hug Chloe. Chloe kept backing away repeatedly. Seeing this, I immediately quickened my pace, stepping up to block him, and coldly warned Gu Bacon, "Don't you dare come any closer to my girlfriend." "Your girlfriend?" Gu Bacon looked heavily triggered, snapping into a frenzied state in an instant. He aggressively redirected his spearhead at me. "Lin Yuan, what are you so smug about? Listen to me clearly. If it weren't for my help, Chloe wouldn't have given you the time of day." Hearing this, a brief flash of displeasure crossed my mind, but on second thought I might as well just thank him instead. "Well then, I really ought to thank you. Thank you for gifting me such an incredible fiancé. This favor of giving away your woman is something I will never forget." My words made it crystal clear to him that I had known the entire truth all along. Upon hearing this, Chloe lifted her head to look at me, asking in a low voice, "Yuan, you knew everything?" I nodded, my gaze directed at her remaining perfectly gentle without the slightest hint of blame. Chloe blinked in surprise, and then flashed a radiantly sweet smile at me as our eyes locked. All the old grudges and misgivings about the fake romance seemed to vanish into thin air at this very moment. However, this scene completely triggered Gu Bacon. "Lin Yuan, you stole my Chloe! I'm going to kill you!" The moment the words left his mouth, he suddenly whipped a pocket knife out of his pocket, flicked the sharp blade open with a loud click, and charged straight at me. "Watch out!" Witnessing this, Chloe's eyes instantly turned red with panic, and she desperately tried to throw herself in front of me to take the blow. What they didn't know was that I had trained in martial arts at a dojo. In the nick of time, I yanked Chloe back behind me and simultaneously launched a powerful kick straight into Gu Bacon's abdomen. With a dull thud, Gu Bacon went flying backward like a ragdoll, slamming heavily onto the ground outside the Liu estate. The pocket knife fell from his hand, clattering against the pavement. Chloe instinctively collapsed into my arms, shaken to the core as she frantically checked me for injuries. I gave her back a reassuring pat, but immediately pushed her gently aside to chase after Gu Bacon, who was scrambling to his feet to escape. "You won't get away that easily." Afterward, we called the police, and Gu Bacon was taken away by law enforcement. When Chloe's father heard about this, he slammed his hand on the table in a furious rage. Although he rarely came home due to work, that certainly didn't mean he didn't dote on his daughter. When the Gu family dared to come over to plead for mercy, he instantly severed all business collaborations with them. The Gu family's total collapse was now just a matter of time. At the same time, Chloe's father pulled some strings to ensure Gu Bacon would be well taken care of in prison. Yet in the end, those connections weren't even necessary. Gu Bacon lost his mind behind bars, started a fight, and injured someone. Consequently, he was cornered by the other inmates and beaten to death. Meanwhile, Chloe and I were lying on a massive bed in a beachfront villa abroad. We cuddled up close, ready to cross that ultimate boundary. The surprise Chloe had promised me after the exam was none other than herself. But just as we were about to take that final step, an urgent pounding echoed from the door, accompanied by Shen Yue's boisterous voice. "Chloe! Lin Yuan! What are you two secretly playing in there? Let me join in!" I knew without a doubt that she was doing it on purpose, intentionally ruining the romantic mood between Chloe and me. Chloe and I exchanged a glance and smiled helplessly. Ignoring the voice outside, we continued to lose ourselves in our own sweet world. Bonus chapter, Chloe's perspective. It's true, my mother passed away early and my father was always away, busy with work. Growing up, I was incredibly starved for affection, so I always cared deeply for our neighbor's boy, Gu Bacon. In the beginning, I genuinely liked him, and even secretly dreamed of being with him forever. But he never truly cared about me. Later on, he actually asked me to go confess to another guy just to play some sick honey trap game. At that point, I became completely disillusioned with him. Lest anyone forget, I was technically still his fiancé back then. Asking your own fiancé to confess to another boy and fake a relationship with him, is that something a sane person would devise? Lin Yuan, the new transfer student, was the target Gu Bacon assigned me to confess to. Actually, I knew of him before the confession. He was that boy who always had a melancholy air, but was exceptionally handsome. Shen Yue had dug into Lin Yuan's background long ago and told me everything. The only reason Lin Yuan transferred was because he was so good-looking that a girl had relentlessly stalked him, forcing him to switch schools. I could hardly believe it when I heard it. It turned out boys could be harassed for their looks, too. From the very start, my confession to Lin Yuan was never meant to make a fool out of him. Unlike Gu Beichen, I don't have that twisted hobby of toying with people's emotions, nor do I care to waste my time on irrelevant people. Back then, I actually gathered the courage to confess to him with the intention of starting a genuine relationship. As for Gu Beichen, the moment he pushed me to Lin Yuan as a pawn for his honey trap, I saw exactly how little I mattered to him, and grew increasingly disgusted by his character. Shen Yue had actually warned me countless times before that Gu Beichen was a terrible person and that I should stay away. But back then, blinded by the childhood sweetheart and fiancé filter, I simply didn't listen. It wasn't until that filter shattered into pieces that I saw what was left of him. Nothing but ugly selfishness and malicious intent. Later on, when I heard the news of his death, remembering the days we spent growing up together still brought a sigh to my heart. Facing the direction of our home country, I offered a silent, earnest prayer, hoping that my former childhood playmate, if there is a next life, will never be so foolish again. The end.